my children. Warms my blood to see you all gathered, plotting against me.
Akasha.
Maharet, you will address my king first.
Lestat? What has she done to you?
Lestat, step aside.
Never.
The world has changed since you reigned.
Then we shall change it back. Humans are animals, brute creatures. Their destruction can only make sense.
We found other ways to coexist.
Oh yes, in silence, in shadows and shame, and for what? For respect of mortals. They are nothing to us. They are merely food.
Akasha, please.
You think you can change my will? Had enough of this discussion. Join me or die.
I will not.
I will not.
I will not.
I will not.
They say I cannot be forsaken.
You just had to do that,
Because
didn't you?
I'm not
The only one.
Are you sounding like Chad Kroger?
You're not. You're not doing the corn version or the.
They say
Disturbed
that a hero can save us.
I'm not gonna stand here and wait. That was a dark time. Get it together.
go.
You should do the post credits of that.
Gosh.
Welcome to Franchise Killer, a podcast where we pick movie franchises, or wannabe franchises, review them film by film, and see where things went wrong. Or right.
Okay, I gotta say, you sound exactly like that guy from IT Crowd who listens to
Oh gosh,
My name is Richmond.
Richmond. Yeah. Hi, welcome to Franchise
No,
Killer.
his voice is a lot lower. His voice is a lot
Have
lower.
you ever heard of Cradle of Filth?
Honestly,
Got
I
me
feel
through
like
some dark times.
I feel like Lestat would listen to Cradle of Filth.
You would, no,
probably.
I think Cradle Filth is beyond Lestat. There's that
would
one
be-
scene. That one scene in this movie is so funny, where he's got his big ol' over-the-ear headphones and he's just listening to some new metal, on top of a tomb or something.
All right. Let's be honest. This Lestat would be into Lamb of God, but the real Lestat from the last one would be baffled.
I don't know. Lamb of God's not the worst choice.
Okay,
Yeah, you could do worse.
Yeah.
You could definitely do worse than Lamb of God, but let's be real. If you went from classic music straight to that, I don't know.
Anyway, I'm Reese. To my left is
David.
and to my further left,
Irina.
and across from me,
A sexy vampire.
who's also named,
Noah.
and way off in a distant land we have
AJ.
And today we're talking about Queen of the Damned, 2002 film directed by Michael Reimer, who also directed In Too Deep.
Is that the number 2?
Not Into Deep, but N-T-O-O Deep.
Dude, he's so into it.
And a lot of other TV shows he's directed episodes and pilots of, including Battlestar Galactica, Hannibal, American Horror Story, The Man in the High Castle, and Jessica Jones, among others.
That is not a bad lineup.
Fairly respectable. It looks like he kind of turned over a new leaf.
After this one, he was
maybe.
like, all right,
Although
maybe new metal was too much.
Yeah, I haven't specifically looked up which episodes he's directed, so maybe the show just takes a dip right when it's his episode, but I don't know. I'll give him some credit. The movie stars Aaliyah, Stuart Townsend, Marguerite Moreau, Vincent Perez, Paul McGann, Lena Olin, and Christian Mannon. Any of those names after the first two ring any bells?
Wait,
And not even the first 2 ring a bell.
Lindsay Lohan wasn't in this?
No, not that I...
Freaky Friday?
There is a redhead in this, or a
No,
fake
she was
redhead,
like
but
that melodramatic glam outfits raised by a single parent. Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen.
Oh, okay. There was just way too much drama in this for you, right?
Yeah, it was just
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm sorry you
was all the
watched that.
makeup.
Did you have a good time with that movie?
I don't know. I kind
Do you feel any better?
of slept through a lot of it.
Well,
Did Lindsay Lohan climb on the walls?
Probably.
Probably.
anyway, the movie's written by Scott Abbott and Michael Petroni, and it's based on Queen of the Damned, the third book in the Vampire Chronicles series. In fact, Anne Rice was pretty upset that they went with the third one instead of covering the second film, The Vampire Lestat,
Okay,
I
so
believe it's called.
it is, The Vampire Lestat, but they actually combined the two. They took elements from both.
I got the sense that the origin, when it goes back into his origin, that was like the other book.
Weird. It's almost like they covered a little bit of Lestat's life in this one.
Which was more interesting than...
Slightly.
Yeah, because we had another actor to lean on.
It was because of Marius, let's be real.
Yeah.
Anyway, on this podcast, we first go over our thoughts on the film before revisiting it for the episode. Then we dive into the story, break it down bit by bit, and talk about the more significant moments. Then, towards the end of the show, we give our brief reviews and numbered scores, along with an analysis on the health of the franchise and whether or not this film hurt it. So, Irina, had you seen this movie before?
I had. I watched it with a friend one night, and that's about the extent of that
Haven't
story.
looked back since.
Yeah, I never watched it again, but yeah. I think that was a time also when I was a little more forgiving of nu metal. I still am, because it has sort of nostalgic qualities about it.
It's a significant slice of our upbringing, so you can't...
Yeah, you
All right,
can't deny it.
Let's be real. There's nothing too wrong with nu metal. It's just the association.
There are certain nu metal bands that I would say have survived.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say Deftones and System of a Down.
Limp Bizkit.
Korn even.
I almost hesitate to call Deftones nu metal, though.
But they were.
I know. Some of them were. It's almost like because they were around the same time, they still are lumped in with nu metal, but I don't know. I think there's so much more.
And now nu metal's going through like a resurgence, and all the new kids are doing it.
It is?
Yeah, there's a bit of it's kind of like a mix of nu metal and metalcore. Not to get too in the weeds with like genres of metal.
Oh yeah,
but,
you can get
people
lost.
are so into it.
You can get lost in that.
Anyway, how about you, Noah?
Well, apparently you've forgotten you put this movie on for me.
Oh no, we're going to get into this again?
Yeah.
I have not seen this movie.
You put it on!
That doesn't mean I've seen it.
Yeah.
So Reese
you probably put it on and walked out.
Okay,
Reese went to the bargain bin, I bet.
Last week, you said that I had seen this for sure, and that I would recognize scenes from it. I can assure you, watching it...
I don't know if I said that you'd recognize scenes from it, but I knew you had... You were the one that put it on.
Either way, either I was like just completely blackout drunk, which is not likely.
Well,
I did not remember.
It's not impossible.
I did not remember a single scene.
It was at a Halloween party.
Okay, well, it
And
must
it
have
was
been on
at
in the background.
Philip's house.
But I have no recollection of this.
Bleh.
One of our friends. But
Anyway, I have no recollection.
That's
You
fair.
do, apparently.
Do you remember it, Noah, like when you watched it that time?
I remembered certain scenes because this was back like, I don't know, 10 or 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So you were but a wee lad.
It was quite a while ago, but I did remember certain things of it.
Certain bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces.
How about you, David?
Absolutely not. I didn't know it existed.
You didn't know Queen of the Damned existed?
No, I've never heard that name before. I have no idea where that came from.
Okay, I could see not seeing it before, but not hearing of Queen of the Damned.
I feel like I may have heard Forsaken. Maybe somehow that came on like a weird Spotify radio playlist or something, but no.
Did the cover look familiar at all? Like, you know,
a little bit, but I feel like that's because those kind of things happen a lot on covers.
I think I seem to remember I had seen that cover before several times, but I could understand not remembering the title.
Yeah. I don't know. It never struck a chord with me. But I watched it this past week for the first time with my roommates, and boy, did we have a good time with that.
Yeah.
How about you, AJ?
I'm with David on this one. Never saw it and have no recollection of this movie existing other than, I guess, the phrase Queen of the Damned, but kind of can be chalked up to either the book or just kind of a generic genre phrase. So
Yeah.
Just more of an Anne Rice fan.
Yeah, I remember this came out a little bit before Underworld, and even I could smell that something was off with like this movie. This is normally the type of thing that I'd gravitate towards and throw on. My threshold was Underworld, so like I
was
I
gonna
actually,
say,
I enjoy Underworld and Resident Evil.
So you love this?
No, this one's like a rung below those.
What do you mean?
Are you sure it's not a couple rungs?
It is a couple. It's more than a couple, if I'm being perfectly honest. But we'll get into that later. Are y'all ready to get into the story?
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
And actually, I guess before we do that, we should do our call to action real quick. David, you wanna call people to action? You're good at it.
call people to action. Oh yeah, that's right. We're changing this up a little bit. You remembered and I didn't.
Yeah.
We are trying to build that presence right now. So, we usually say this at the end, but we're going to start putting in the front. If you could like, comment, subscribe, throw us some ratings out there. We're doing our best to try to beat that algorithm and get ourselves out there more. So if you really want to help us and you like what we're doing, just do what you can to help us start bumping those ratings up.
What helps us by far the most is 5 stars on Apple. So if you go out of your way and do that, that we would be exceptionally grateful for. With that said, let's get into the story.
From an endless night, he will rise to seduce the world.
I am the vampire Lestat. I've hidden in the shadows for centuries. It's time to share myself with the world. Let me show you what it means to live in the light.
In his lust for mortal power, he will awaken an immortal evil.
She's Akasha, the queen of the damned.
That will turn the undead.
She chose me.
Against each other.
She has no respect for anything except for the taste of blood, human and immortal alike.
In a war to possess our souls.
What have you done, Lestat?
The vampire Lestat is awakened from slumber by the sound of a hard rock band.
New metal.
You might have to restart that.
No, let's just
has
keep
made
going.
him
All right.
You heard that correct.
The music he hears is coming from his old house, and he entrances the young mortal band with
his talent.
He recognizes the potential for fame and glory and proceeds to take over as their lead singer. He is controversial, portraying all the sins of the world in his lyrics and his overall demeanor. Lestat uses his controversial lyrics to hint at the existence of vampires and goad the others of his kind into emerging.
That opening credits scene was like, I don't know, this movie, I'm going to be honest with everyone here, is I struggled to stay awake for this movie. And I probably would have turned it off if it weren't mandatory for this podcast. But I swear that I thought this was a fever dream. And that opening credits scene did not help.
It was... Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, so...
No comment.
Lestat wakes up, and he's like, I've been sleeping for 100 years. But it was the new metal that got me.
That's what it was. My soul.
That awoke me from my slumber.
And then he just goes to this band that's in his old house, and they are playing music, and they're all just going, ah! And then he starts singing it with them, and they're like, oh my God.
No, but
his voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
right.
just, he, and also the way they do his voice, it's like this, there are two voices going on at the same time. His eyes are rolling back in his head while he's reclining on their amps or something.
Stomach and chest exposed.
I know, and it was just
shirt.
I had to close my eyes. I could not look at this.
Yeah, that was the most cringe.
It was too much.
Your hands are like death.
Ever.
You're so cold. I'm the vampire Lestat.
That was, I don't know.
The moment you hear Jonathan Davis's voice like chime in on the band, and then it turns to him, and you make the connection.
That amp stack, though.
You expect me to think that his voice came out of that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
That is everyone's concern in this movie.
And it made me so mad.
The voice of all vampires.
So let's pivot to Stuart Townsend, our guy with Jonathan Davis's voice. What do we think about this new Lestat?
There's a big problem here. So they want you to say that he's Lestat the vampire, but let's be real. He's Lestat the Chadpire. Like, this is maximum
I knew you were
douchery.
gonna call him a Chad. I just knew it.
I think we need like a
It's
we need a
a tally.
Like when is Noah gonna drop the Chad term?
Man, that
he
Chad is so
though.
cringe.
He actually is.
Like, how long into the podcast does it take for Noah to use the word Chad?
That's your barometer for how good or bad the movie is.
Dude, he's absolutely the wrong kind of cocky. They try to do that stupid entrancing thing that he's supposed to be able to do as a vampire, but he has none of the charisma.
Hashtag not my Lestat.
And he just comes off looking like a
Chad pirate.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so wait, when it came to his accent, did you guys pick up on what kind of accent he was doing?
It's like he was trying to go for French, but then sometimes it sounded Russian, and then at other points
Transylvanian. It was kind of like,
yeah.
Welcome to my vampire
His
lair.
accent kept changing, and I guess if you've lived long enough, you kind of mix all of them. I don't know.
There was an interview with Townsend.
Vampire?
And I guess he got a dialect coach, and
really?
they decided to make one for his character, which I guess he said French was an inspiration, but he's like, we tried to make sure it wasn't like stuck to one area.
That is so stupid because Lestat's supposed to be French, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of all the things to work hard on in this movie.
Yeah, and apparently making the character Lestat anything like the character in the book was not part of that journey.
Also, this is when you first realize that all the vampires, I guess, when they become a vampire, they get a little silver makeup, like at the center of their eye. Like
it's like that is technically the highlight. Like those are highlighter eyeshadow.
I was just like, they all get it. Yeah. Like once they get turned, suddenly that silver eyeshadow's there, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, did they not? They must have not even watched the previous movie.
Yeah,
actually, like. This is so far from anything, and yet it's supposed to be a sequel.
I guess we should take that and say, if for people who may or may not have listened to the first episode or watched the first movie, which this is based off of, is Interview with the Vampire. The first guy to play Lestat was Tom Cruise, followed by Townsend in this movie, and for some reason they just decided to go a completely opposite direction. So
I can imagine him studying for the part after he got it, watching the first movie, credits roll, and he just long silence, sip of whiskey. Crap. Like
Clap.
That's just what I have to follow.
Wait, no, that was too French. Come up with something else, David.
Le crap.
That's even more French.
Merde.
Before we move on, I think the movie, no matter how good it were to have gotten, if it was the best movie ever after this, like, it's already irredeemable. Like, I think
I'm already asking why this movie was made.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, it's already, the damage is done. There's certain movies where there's like just something kills it for you, and no matter how much it tries to pull out of that, you already hurt me. Like,
you already hurt me. I'm done.
And so this movie, at least this movie, like, ripped the Band-Aid off early, and I realized exactly what I was in store for.
For me, it's puppets.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
How
you want to continue that story, Irina?
Yeah. Jesse Reeves, a researcher for the paranormal studies group Talamaska, is intrigued by Lestat's lyrics after hearing one of his songs play on TV, and tells the rest of the group of her theory that he really is a vampire. Her mentor, David Talbot, takes her aside and tells her they know what he is and that a vampire called Marius made him. David also shows her Lestat's journal that he recovered and gives it to Jesse for her to read. In the journal, Lestat recalls how he was turned into a vampire by Marius and how he awoke Akasha, the first vampire, with his music. Unsatisfied with what she read, Jesse tracks Lestat down to a London vampire club called the Admiral's Arms, where he saves her from 3 vampires and confronts her about Marius.
Okay, can we talk about the crawling seduction
Yeah,
kill
let's
scene?
just go ahead. I think that's something that happens here.
This is like, it is a so bad it's good moment for me personally.
Yeah.
I was
Makes
like,
you
okay,
cackle.
this is on the level of Halle Berry's Catwoman.
Yes.
It's just like that was
it
one
is.
of those moments where it was like, wow.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
they really did that.
We get to go to Lestat's. I heard they keep their girls in a dungeon with Wi-Fi and weed. Oh my god.
See, he watched the Lindsay
And
Lohan movie too.
No, they did say that. They're like, they have Cable down there and weed, and like all we have to do is let him suck on our neck a little bit. And they're like, I've done worse than that. And you're like, okay, this is the kind of movie we're in for.
It was funny that him being on the wall was fine, but once he got on the ceiling, that was over the line.
That's what.
Yeah. They're all like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So to set the scene, this is. You good over there, David?
He inhaled some beer
I was so
foam.
excited to agree with AJ because I noticed the same thing.
You're drinking dead blood. You gotta.
Oh, wait. I can't drink dead blood. Reese, you gave me dead blood?
Wait. Why is it yellow?
Because it's dead
blood.
Oh.
It's dead urine.
Oh, no, that's okay. I can do that.
It's sterile, and I like the taste.
So yeah, to set the stage for this scene, though, basically, we learn that the way Lestat gets his victims is he has his little butler, this guy who kind of talks crap behind his back, even though he knows that he's always listening.
Because every butler does.
To round up a couple girls, bring them to his place, and then he just has them crawl towards him as he crawls backwards up onto a wall and then up onto a ceiling. And then we're treated with the most beautiful slow motion effect as he drops on them and bites them.
Yeah, what is that?
Don't forget the blur.
It's supposed to be speed. Yeah. Whenever they're showing him going faster than normal, there's this weird blurred choppiness.
I will say not successful.
No, not at all.
I can't even imagine that looking good back in the day.
I have a question for you guys. The special effects vampires for this or Twilight? Which one's better?
I never thought I'd say this, but Twilight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Honestly, better.
I mean, that just shows.
Yeah. Doesn't that break your brain? Yeah, I like the Twilight vampires better.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that Anne Rice is kind of like the inspiration for all modern vampires, but man, I got some super Edward Cullen vibes from Stuart Townsend in this movie.
Yeah.
Like just looking at him.
He does have that. But they had that in Interview with a Vampire too, but they pulled it off.
Yeah.
In this one, it's like, no.
No.
Sour immediately.
Yep.
I thought that I didn't see that as much in Interview with a Vampire.
Not as much.
I thought that they looked more Victorian in that than
probably because it was in a more Victorian era versus this one.
Exactly. But I mean, I didn't see any of that modern look to them except for the fact that you have the association of Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and
So let's dissect this professor character.
David Talbot.
I was thinking the girl.
Oh,
is she a
Jesse?
student?
No, she's an
understudy.
Understudy. I think is what they.
I always got
say.
the impression she was a professor because she was giving this lecture.
So
well,
no, it wasn't.
There was no clear definition of what the
isn't.
Talamaskas were.
No, they just kind of throw that name around, and not even in this scene. It's just her presenting this theory to a panel of people where you kind of get the vague understanding that she's not high up in whatever facility this is, so she has no weight to sway people's opinions. But then suddenly, David's like, I need to see you, Jesse.
How did she
we
score a
actually know
meeting?
about this Lestat already. Here's his journal. And
No, not only did he have his journal, he's like, I have his journal, and I have these pictures going throughout the centuries of the guy who created him.
So,
and he's like in the background
apparently-
whispering, like, shh.
Apparently, Marius is just obsessed with being in every painting ever throughout the history of time.
I love that, though. I honestly love that. I think Marius is one of the best parts of this movie.
Wait.
Hey, why am I not in that painting? Do it again.
Just funny that this is like the whole purpose of this Talamaska group to study them, and he's just like, no, don't worry about it. Forget about this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it was more like we study these things, but we don't interfere. It's like it's like an interview crew or a documentary crew watching like a tiger cub in the African safari, and it's like, and then the African cub wandered off, and it's like we could save him, but we can't interfere.
Yeah,
and then he
just
wandered
let it
into a
happen.
den that killed him. It was really sad.
Yeah, I really don't understand why they didn't explain this when they really could have. And I think this is an issue that this movie has throughout the whole thing, is just you have really interesting moments with people that you're like, okay, what is this? And they never explain it. And they decide to focus more on a concert or Lestat making these really sultry, half-lidded looks at the camera and going, I'm a vampire. And I don't know. It's just, why are we focusing on this? There's something more that you're not explaining.
But
some people can smolder, like usually attractive people can, which I can say that he is. Mm-hmm. He does not do a good smolder.
No.
Yeah.
At all.
I think he wasn't given good direction either, though, to be fair. Like,
that's exactly it. I'm sure he's a capable actor.
Yeah.
like, a lot of this seems like first take, like, all right, we're good, on to the next.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Like,
I think he has moments where you can tell he's a fine actor. It's just the way he's being directed, like you said, is just really over the top and not really engaging.
I do agree that there's all these moments without, like they present interesting ideas, but it never does anything with them.
Yeah.
And it goes to someone else. Because it's like it's really scatterbrained. Like, I would say, when you actually read the plot synopsis of this movie, it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But just watching it play out, I'm just...
it's an editing problem for sure,
even
too.
now, when I'm reading these plot points as we're going, like paragraph by paragraph, it has more background information than the movie actually gave you.
Yeah.
Because it kind of has to. Otherwise, it sounds just like a bunch of random events coinciding for some reason.
If you're going to watch this movie, make sure you read a synopsis first, just so you can keep track.
Or better yet, you would have to read the books, because I think there's just a whole lot going on in the background that they kind of rely on people that know the story.
Scratch that. Just read the
understand.
books and don't watch the movie.
You know what
Don't be
doesn't
sober.
help?
No.
You know what doesn't help?
What?
With understanding this movie? The previous movie.
Yeah, it does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, because the Lestat we end on in that movie does not carry over at all
It's
to
so...
this one.
Okay, so...
neither does Louis. He's not in this at all.
So basically, they're like, new director, new actors, get rid of the old people.
But
it never happened.
Granted, it is a reboot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it ever meant to be like the direct sequel.
But here's the thing. Not only is Louis not in this movie, they're pretending he does not exist. Like, what's his name, Marius references, like, you might need to find a companion. And he makes mention.
That was his opening to, like, say something.
You know that the writers were like, and they wrote in Louis in there, and then they're like, wait, did we get Brad Pitt for this movie?
No.
No? Oh, crap. You know what? No, get it out of there.
Let's get James Van Der Beek.
The captain. So, funny story, completely off topic a little bit, but Stuart Townsend, do you know what he was going to do at this exact same time period other than this movie?
I do, but I'm going to let you break the news.
Oh, I think it's fun. I think he was going to play the same character Viggo Mortensen was going to play in Lord of the Rings, right?
Aragorn.
Yeah. And he was in New Zealand.
New Zealand.
He was in New Zealand working with, Peter Jackson and crew. And he was.
New Zealand.
It's about time to stop
Australian
that.
accent.
I'm trying to add in. It's Australian.
Pump the brakes.
All right,
Pump the brakes.
I'm done. All right, so he was learning how to horse ride and sword fight, and then right at the beginning of filming, Peter Jackson's like, "Nah, you're out, dude."
I think it was 4 days in to like something training or something. I don't know what it
He
was.
was there for 2 months.
You told me
Wow.
that the reason they decided to go with someone else was because he was too young for the part, and I think that was just an excuse to get him off, because I don't think he was jiving.
Yeah, that's
with the
it's
crew.
not you, it's me.
Yeah. I'm
kinda.
sorry. We just realized after you went through a whole bunch of training that you're actually too young.
Who knows? Maybe there is
This isn't
untapped.
working out.
Yeah.
Maybe there's untapped talent there that Stuart Townsend has that we're not giving him credit for, and he's been under poor direction for the past 2 movies.
I honestly think that is...
Hey,
Yeah.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was a masterpiece.
Well, the thing is, you probably wouldn't get through many stages of the Lord of the Rings auditioning if you didn't at least have some talent.
Yeah.
Right.
So he probably had talent, and there was just some issue other
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't right for the role, or...
Yeah.
The articles
They-
I read said he was a rising star at the time.
Yeah. And that kind of pittered out. somewhere.
Anyway, let's quickly go into the whole kind of origin story, I guess, of Lestat that's presented through the passing of this
Jesse.
book or journal to what's her name?
Jesse. While I was watching this, I got so tired of his narrating. Partly because of the accent changing all over the place, and
Not the
I don't know,
laziness?
just the way he talks is so like. And then I met Marius.
It's called lazy.
and
That's the
I'm-
word you're looking for.
You're not engaging. I actually found Jesse's narration more interesting, and I was able to actually listen to her talking. But I don't know. I just got so tired.
Well, he sounds pompous.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Every time he talks.
Yeah.
It's not pompous, because Lestat's a little pompous. It's moody. And, like, like, look at me brooding, but hear my voice.
You're just
it's sexy.
so overdrawn.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like at one
exactly.
point, like I said, I was falling asleep during this movie, struggling to finish it. I literally turned playback rate to 1.25 times speed, and it was still going slow. This movie just dragged on.
I know.
Pacing,
And the narration
pacing
did
be
not help.
damned.
No, it didn't.
So there was one scene that for me was like, I wrote in my notes, this is kind of cool, and then ... Nah. And that's the violin scene.
Oh,
Well,
gosh,
okay,
yeah.
I know why though, because it started off okay.
Yeah.
And then it went downhill.
Yeah, but there's for once there's this sense of tension where it's like, oh, she's in a dangerous situation and this is spinning out of control,
Yeah.
kind of. And they almost had me for a moment there.
Yeah.
But no.
I actually felt more emotion from that violinist than I did from most of the actors in this.
She just stared at the
actually.
camera.
Well, she didn't, but I don't know. I think that I felt for her the
Yeah.
most, and I was like, no, I actually don't want this lady to
We should
die.
clarify a little bit. I guess this is the scene where Marius changes him and he's explaining what it's like to be a vampire, and they're walking on the beach and they see a group of, what would you call them? Like
they looked like
gypsies.
gypsies, yeah.
Yeah, they're gypsy mortals playing their violin on the beach, and then Lestat's like, yeah, I'm gonna get involved with this. And then
I'm gonna
scares them.
involved.
I'm going to
Scares
show
them
them
with the
how
violin.
fast I
He
can play the
still-
violin.
Was being, contrarian about, no, I'm going to be still involved in society instead of hiding in the shadows.
Yeah.
Isolated.
Very quick lesson.
Yeah,
And that was the only, hint of any kind of theme in this movie.
Yeah.
And I got the impression that in that moment, he wasn't looking to kill either of them. He was trying to engage with other
Yeah.
humans. And that just quickly turned.
And he realized he freaked them out with his freakishly fast violin playing.
And this is a glaring issue I have with this. It again has to do with Lestat being completely wrong. He's got a lot more character than he has here. And what they did essentially is they put Louis in
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Lestat's body and essentially put
tried to
Lestat
combine
in
the-
Marius.
They dumbed down Lestat to be more dull and moody, like Louis was in the previous
Yeah.
movie, and Marius ends up having more of an engaging, exciting personality, like Lestat is supposed to have.
I think
Exactly.
the difference they did try to show a little bit, and that was probably what you're seeing in this scene, is that Lestat really does want to be in the spotlight. He's kind of narcissistic in that way, but they gave him too much of that brooding quality and that's where I think a lot of the cringy vampire depictions come from.
Yeah.
It's like they're not all talking like this to each other and like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm
it's so-
2 steps ahead of
Yeah.
you all the time, and I hate what I am.
They were going for edgy.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying.
This is also where we get, in my opinion, the only effect that is pulled off decently, and that is when he bites the Akasha statue.
Oh, yeah, that one was cool.
Yeah, the way that the stone blended with the actual her body.
Yeah, that looked
and
good.
how I couldn't tell when it was stone and when it wasn't. I was kind of impressed.
And the close-up of seeing stone with veins is something you don't see very often, but I think they pulled it off pretty well. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird and creepy,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I'm in it.
I thought this scene was actually decent. Like
Yeah.
the one, with this
Overall-
movie, you take what you can get.
Yeah.
But that one scene in the whatever tomb, I guess you could call it, is not bad. There's fire. It looks nice. Cool.
I think sorry.
No, go ahead.
The whole backstory is
Reese,
good.
if there's fire, it looks nice.
They got the fire right.
Wrap
yeah,
it up
like-
and print it.
if the one good thing I'll say about this, if you take out all the new metal, edgy, stupid, sexy vampire stuff that they're trying to pull.
Wait, you mean the whole movie?
Okay, it's
There's
most of
nothing
the,
left.
most of the movie, but I have to say the backstory with the queen is kind of a cool backstory, and like if they had just got full on gone with that,
Yeah.
I would have been happier.
So that, yeah,
Even
like
though they
you're-
apparently gutted the main story of that backstory from the book.
Yes, they did. And
Yeah.
so with the Queen Akasha and him discovering her chamber alongside her king or whatever, like I think it was a really cool set, but this movie does not give you the weight of her presence enough. Like this is
Yeah.
supposed to be like a really big moment, and she's the first vampire. There should be some kind of godlike quality to that. I think this actress, even though we'll see her later, but I think she does a really good job trying to carry that part, especially for a singer who probably doesn't have as much acting experience. But because of the new metal, it really takes away from that weight of history.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
This is why it's such a bad impulse to fill your movie with just current songs unless you go in with the intention of it, aging a certain way. Like, I could see you trying to actually capture that slice of time and putting in relevant songs that you feel could be timeless. But in some, it feels like a knee-jerk reaction to throw all this new metal and all this trendy stuff in there.
Static X lives forever in my heart. Okay,
Like the difference being, Guardians of the Galaxy versus
exactly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the bar scene real quick, where Jesse decides to try to seek out this Lestat guy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know if she's searching for Lestat there. She just goes there.
She is. Yeah,
Well,
she read his journal and she's like, I want this guy to bite me and turn me into a vampire.
So she knows that he frequents there, but I don't think she saw him directly go in there. So she's kind of going there on a
all
chance.
we get from this movie is her talking about the lyrics of his song, where he references the name of the bar, and she somehow finds it in like the slums of
now
London.
It's a club.
And so that's
there's
all
a
she
club
gets
in
out of
there.
that. So whether or not you think she's meeting Lestat, but she references Marius when she gets there, when I don't know why she didn't bring up Lestat, why she brought up Marius, but
Let's just name drop an ancient that
Yeah,
you don't know about ancients, bro.
that would raise some eyebrows.
No, to be fair, I thought that during the thing, and then after that, I thought, well, if you're a regular human being or vampire, you would not believe someone who said, "Oh yeah, Lestat."
Yeah.
Well, they
the
didn't believe her when
biggest,
she said
most
Marius.
famous person. I am there.
Well,
Yeah.
Familiar or
especially
whatever.
since he's trying to basically goad these vampires, like being told, like telling people that, hey, he's my host. You would probably be their first victim. So this scene, this lady's an idiot, especially since you don't really know what her motives are. It's very vague. She just walks into a den of vampires thinking like, I can just get my way through this.
She just wants to know.
Especially, presumably, that she's, devoted a substantial amount of energy and a portion of her life to get to this level of whatever group this is.
Yeah.
To be in the know, but she's so naive, just going into the lion's den, exposing herself to danger.
I just love
it. Doesn't make sense.
I just love the phone call with this David guy where she's all like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Stop worrying. I'm just gonna go to this bar by myself."
Noah, you reminded me that another thing this movie completely drops from the first is, these vampires, I thought, or at least some of them had some form of telepathy.
Yeah.
That would really break a lot of this, flow of the plot and conversations and any kind of, motivation or how things progress.
Yeah, so
I guess that was inconvenient. So like, no one can,
Well, they
know
only
anything
said
anymore.
some people had telepathy. Not all vampires have the same powers.
Lestat, in particular, had telepathy, which means he wouldn't have had to talk to her. Although I guess, if he's interested.
Yeah, man, I don't know. These vampires are lazy. I just, that's what I feel. I don't feel like any of them are really intelligent at all. You don't get that impression.
Except for Marius, I think.
Yeah,
he's the only
Marius
one.
may be the
we don't talk about Marius enough. Like
he's the one good part along with the queen.
He's the only one that took on actual Lestat energy at some points.
Well,
like he actually seemed a little more.
He's charismatic.
Yeah.
He has more energy and he's more fun and he's been around. He's the closest to the ancients that you can get, I guess, in this vampire world without being one.
I'm gonna still say not even close. Sorry.
The first movie constantly alluded to Lestat saying, I didn't have a choice of who made me.
Right.
He says that at least twice. And then here we see him not have that choice. We see the actual situation and Marius saying, I've thought a long time about this. This is why I chose you. So there's a lot of potential for them to like go into that reasoning why Lestat was, born into a vampire.
Also,
but they dropped the ball on that.
And going off on that, they actually made Marius really altruistic, and I imagine that is not how the real Marius was.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was like, I don't know if he's altruistic, but they made him more likable.
Well, no, like, remember whenever he's, I guess they didn't go too much into perhaps other villainous acts, but he was like no.
Less
Actually,
malicious.
Yeah, he wasn't malicious, and I will double down on this because they mentioned that he reveres mortals pretty highly.
Right.
Well, I don't know if he reveres mortals, but what they said was that they found a status quo. They found a way to live together, and then people took that as, oh, you like mortals and you like to live in the shadows. You have respect, and it's more like he just doesn't want to disrupt what's happening.
Yeah. Well, the reason why people write people saying things in movies is so that the audience will think that.
Obviously, he didn't revere mortals that much because he had Lestat like snap a girl's neck and he like bit this guy.
Well, no, he had to keep the vampires from dying, but he didn't want to do that.
I mean, he didn't seem too beat up about it.
So the point is, Marius seems a little more benevolent than you were led to believe because of the previous film, and because of Lestat's obvious anger and trauma over being abandoned as a newly made vampire. You get the impression he had to teach himself, where this Marius seems like he was perfectly willing to take him on as a protege, you know?
Yeah.
But it was Lestat that messed things up by awakening Akasha.
Yeah, it's just all wrong.
Yeah.
But not only that, if you're going to make a logical assumption about the Queen of the Damned and your Marius, you'd probably not think it's Lestat's fault that, you know, the most powerful, oldest vampire lured you into the room and pretty much made you suck her blood.
He didn't hate him for it. He just,
He left.
Keep him in my basement, hidden by this switch with hieroglyphics on it. Just roll this dresser over it. No one will find it.
I want to know how he moved both of those statues.
Also. Oh, so quickly?
So
we were talking about
cleaned out the entire place in like a day.
But those are big.
Well, he's a vampire.
Just imagining the whole scenario of Lestat just passed out on the bed and he's just like shoving these two marble statues out of the tower.
Don't mind me.
They're too big to go through that entrance.
Come on, Akasha.
You got the movers carrying it.
I know.
Oh yeah. You got the straps.
Careful.
Pivot.
You're getting paid $10 an hour. Move this marble statue.
I love how they're suddenly from the United States.
I know.
Yeah, that's the only thing they're in Louisiana.
Let's
Not
move
at
on.
that point.
Yeah,
let's move on with that story.
That's the
All
Mediterranean.
right. In Los Angeles, Lestat is visited by Marius, who warns him that the other vampires will not tolerate his highly public profile. Marius also reveals that Akasha has awakened due to Lestat's actions and begs him to cancel his concert, which he refuses. Meanwhile, Akasha, who is searching for Lestat, arrives at the Admiral's arms. After the vampires reveal their plan to kill Lestat at his concert, Akasha torches the club and kills all the vampires inside. She's chaotic evil, so even killing her own kind.
They had threatened to kill Lestat.
Her new king.
Yeah.
Because of his music. His music's just so good. She can't have him.
Pretty much, the music was him calling to her, kind of.
I think it was also the fact that he is representing something that she stood for already, which is, I'm proud to be a vampire, and I'm throwing it out there. I think nowadays in this culture, vampires are like, no, we're in the shadows. But even back then, she was like, no, we are getting in front of people.
And we're killing everybody.
Like
everybody.
Mutant and proud. Yes. Vampire and proud.
Dude, she's Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just shake her and a mover.
She is Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I was going to say she's also very much Magneto. Just like...
Well, Magneto's a little different.
Oh,
did we talk about how she rips hearts out of people?
But I know what you mean, though.
Eradicate all mortals, even though that's what we need to survive.
Right, yeah.
Didn't quite get that. Also, I didn't quite understand. Do you need blood to survive as a vampire in this world?
Yes.
Can you sleep for 100 years without sucking blood?
Apparently
you can drink you can drink other vampires' blood too, and she's old enough that you don't actually need the things that young vampires need. So it's
all right.
This is something that Underworld does this as well.
Wait, you can logic this though.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you can. You can say you're not expending energy, therefore you might not need it.
Yeah, the thing is, it's confusing in that way, but...
What?
He's right.
What did he say?
He said, isn't vampire blood dead blood? Which the first movie explains you can't drink dead blood.
No, because remember the
It's a rhetorical question. I don't actually want an answer.
So what do we think about this scene where she just totally destroys a whole bunch of vampires in that bar?
I actually really liked
Yeah,
it. I don't know why.
that.
One of the
I
best
like
parts.
Weird,
her.
but I was more.
I
okay
like
with
her
it.
unusual movements. She's kind of cool to watch, at least.
I feel like she was modeling after cats. Like she's
Oh
just kind of
gosh.
like.
Oh, she's better than
I feel like she was
No,
like,
they should have modeled
this
after her.
new metal, I don't know how to move to it, but I'm going to try.
All I know is the Egyptian.
I'm just gonna say seductive and new metal don't go together, and that's
I
like what
agree.
is happening in that scene.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she does a good job. Like, it's the first interesting thing that's happened in a long time where I'm like, oh, here's a new element to kind of spice things up a bit.
I think the thing that disappointed me though was that she didn't like. I know the club is in flames, but I was kind of expecting a little more chaos. You
Yeah.
know,
Hey.
where you kind of have this very weak little blood splatter on a TV screen, and then
Yeah. You got a heart-
everyone's in
a heart
flames.
rip?
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, we
but
get
then
straight
after
to
that, it
Indiana
was
Jones.
just kind of all right.
Okay, can I ask where she came from? Like, what caused her to come out at this point? I've watched this movie a few times already.
It's because of his music.
But wait,
Yeah, his music was quote unquote calling to her,
my
and then she
gosh.
sucked her previous king's blood. Actually,
yeah.
she bit his neck
yeah,
out.
like half of his
Yeah.
neck. Yeah,
but
Wait, so the
Yeah.
violin playing didn't wake her up fully. I guess that just gave her a taste, like 200 years
sip-
prior.
a taste.
yeah, yeah.
A
She's
taste
like,
of the genius
I'm
to come.
I'm so into that.
She gave him some power, but she was still in kind of a sleep
Yeah.
state. I
Yeah, he
guess.
didn't quite wake her up
Needed
until
a
he,
mosh pit.
he got full.
Technically, she called him that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like they're not dead, but somehow aware of what's going on around them. So his music reached her.
So then that she
She's
woke
trying
up.
to be a sugar mama.
She woke. she kind of
really
is.
is.
Actually,
Give him the power. And so wait, so she wakes up and then finds the club that he went to, and
Yeah.
finds out they're trying
Well,
to kill him. And she's like, not
I
my,
think
not my
she's
boy.
following
Yeah.
his scent, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know that she
something
kind of
like
referenced
that.
something
His trail.
like that. Yeah.
She said like he must have been here too long. He was here too long ago.
Yeah,
his scent is
something
fading,
like
or
that.
his presence is something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Aaliyah finally comes in for the first time, really, at this point. Like,
What's
a
the
full
queen's
on
name?
Akasha.
Akasha, that's right.
So she comes in, and she has a lot of energy right off the bat. I think it's weird. I think this is like the 51st minute or something like that when she finally comes on the screen for the first time.
She has a good
Yeah.
presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what she does have.
I will say the movie saves a little face here. As I already said, it's already been dealt the death blow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like at
I
least
agree.
her added element is like, okay, there's a nice little accent on here. I'm a little more engaged because there's this question mark
Yeah.
to the story where it's like it's less predictable now. I want to see how this plays out. There's
Yeah.
It finally grabs you halfway through the movie.
It's
I
still
wouldn't say
terrible.
grab. I would say it like kind of prods you like as you're
You're like,
sleeping.
huh.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still
Wake
terrible, but halfway through the movie, or at the halfway point, it starts getting better.
Yeah.
I like her headpiece.
Definitely
It's super
improves.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
want
her
her-
design's pretty good. I think I would have much preferred if they'd focused on
So-
this aspect, the whole movie.
Something we
rather
should
than-
say too is that so Aaliyah, who played Akasha, died before this movie came out, and something I learned too after being interested in how they did her voice, which is that dual tone sort of. I don't even know how you describe it, but
Polyphonic.
Yeah.
there you go, polytonic. So I learned that they actually got her brother after she died to come in, and they said that they had similar
interesting.
voices, which is kind of weird to me, but I guess they did, and they recorded it and then ramped up the pitch to make it slightly more feminine, but they balanced the tones, and that's how they
Yeah.
got that.
Well, apparently
That's
none of
actually
that none
cool.
of that voice was actually her.
What? Some of it was.
I heard it wasn't.
Well, I guess maybe I didn't read it thoroughly enough, but I thought they said that they had hers on some of it, and then they took her brother and then
Oh, well,
mixed the two.
maybe you're right.
So-
yeah, maybe it just wasn't finished.
That's actually really interesting that they would go with that choice because I haven't read the books, but I really wanted to know what her history was. And while she was married to an Egyptian king before it was Egypt, it was Kemet or something, but she's married to Ankle. But she was actually from what is present day Iraq. And so that's where her character originated. So the story goes how she became a vampire, which they refuse to explain in this. At
You
any
don't get
point.
it.
You don't get it. You just know that she's the oldest, and began the vampires. But basically, both she and this king ruled their kingdom, and they were trying to eradicate cannibalism because that was something that their people did frequently.
Stop eating people.
And so she was like very brutal about the way she wanted to get rid of that. And then at some point she got fascinated with the paranormal and found these witches, which one of them's name is Maharet, if that's familiar. We'll bring her up later.
Yes, we will.
But she's a character in this, and Maharet and her sisters were all witches. And so Akasha got them to come and converse with the spirits because she wanted to ask them a bunch of like stupid questions. And so she does, and she gets her answers. But one of the spirits is a malevolent spirit who threatens her life or something. And so because she's angered by the responses, she has the witches raped by her guards or something like that.
As one does.
Yeah, as one does. And then later finds out that the spirit is still hanging out there where she lives.
Yo.
And then Akasha and her husband are murdered by pro-cannibalist people. And then
Eat the people.
as her spirit is leaving, this evil entity merges with her spirit and re-enters her body through the wounds. There, that's the word. And becomes the first vampire. And then she turns the king. So it's like, that's
story.
interesting.
You guys heard it here first.
All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because no, you didn't miss it. It wasn't there. They didn't say it.
Yeah, they didn't explain anything.
No,
really cool.
guys. Remember, he didn't watch this movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, nothing actually makes sense to AJ.
We didn't have Sumerian backstory. We had a, leather jacket and pants.
It's not even leather. It's like pleather.
What are you talking about, man?
Pleather and a see-through shirt.
Wait, it was Sumeria.
A cannibal.
Let's move on with the story.
Jesse arrives at Los Angeles and gives Lestat his journal back. Yay. She then asks him to show her what being a vampire is like. Lestat scoffs at the idea, but Jesse convinces him to spend his last moments before the concert with her. The two spend some time together, and Jesse later asks Lestat to turn her, telling him she wants to be with him and that she wants to know everything he does. Lestat angrily refuses, showing her what it's like for a vampire to feed on a human, then leaves.
So, here is...
Twilight.
Here is... And it does not do this well. In fact, it does it very poorly. But here's the one thing that this movie does better than Interview with the Vampire. This Jessie girl is the role that Christian Slater was in the first movie, where it's the guy who becomes fascinated with the vampire life and then wants to be bitten.
The interviewer.
They at least give Jessie slightly more time to have some sort of an arc where she wants to be bitten. Mm-hmm. It's not great, as I said. I still
don't know her motivation for actually wanting it.
Yeah, I still don't think it's good.
Because Mama's a vampire.
Whoever that lady is. But I
aunt.
guess I can say that, we spend more time with her, and from the get-go, it seems like she likes vampires.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, where did that come from, by the way?
I don't know.
They don't explain it very well.
Just
She's
that-
like, I want
She's a girl
you-
and he's a boy.
You mentioned before, I think,
Can it be
Noah,
any more
that
obvious?
his aunt or her aunt is a vampire, like from way back when. That's her only memory. So that's the only thing, maybe. But it never connects the two. You don't know until she actually says, "Turn me."
Well,
And
and
you're
she's
like,
like,
"Wait a
let me
minute,
cut
what?"
my boob real quick. And
Why was
'cause
it
that's
there?
the only place.
That was-
the
That was a
only
weird place to bite.
I know.
well, and they double down on that. They follow up with that later.
Yeah, they do. So and this is like a Twilight moment, except I think it is more effective for a vampire to show you, hey, this is what you have to deal with, killing people, rather than ripping a tree out of the ground. Do you want
It was a
this?
branch, I think.
Yeah.
But
Hey, guys,
do you
at
want
least-
to rip
No.
trees?
No, you
So-
don't.
so-
I kind of do want to rip a tree.
That's
Man,
true.
that's badass.
What, Noah?
I was going to say, at least this isn't Muse baseball.
Oh, no.
Gosh. That scene. I
Ruined that song.
Bully.
I
Noah,
love that
as a
song.
Muse fan, that ruined it for you.
It's
Are you
every
saying
time
you weren't
I hear it, I
amused?
can't think of anything except for whatever that red-haired girl's name is lifting her leg way above her head and like swinging it around.
Oh, that was
that
the
was-
redhead
that
girl.
was
That was
Alice.
Alice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alice.
Short-haired.
Short-haired, but I thought her hair was red.
No, redhead is the villain girl who comes in. We're not talking about Twilight. I don't want to get into this.
Either way,
Dude, we're
David
talking
knows
about
more than all of us.
I read the
vampires.
books.
We can't at least we have to at least mention it. Like
Yeah.
we can't not.
Yeah, it's
But
it's
especially
prominent.
when you have two terrible movies, you got it's easy to compare.
Hey, man, don't show your opinion till the end. Who knows?
Oh,
This could be.
you're
a
right.
great
I love
movie.
this movie.
So we got Turn Me Amadeus scene here, and then let's move on. I think we got 3 more paragraphs.
Let's move on.
Let's go to the next one.
While performing at his concert in Death Valley, a group of vampires attack Lestat. With Marius's help, they both fend off most of the vampires until Akasha bursts through the stage and takes Lestat with her. Akasha brings Lestat to her new home, where the two vampires mutually feed on one another, during which time Lestat becomes spellbound by Akasha and is forced to obey her, and Akasha proclaims Lestat her new king. After the concert, Jessie is taken to the home of her aunt, Maharet, who later reveals herself to be one of the ancient vampires. Knowing Akasha's plan to take over the world, the ancient vampires discuss their plans to destroy the queen by drinking from her and draining her of her blood. However, they believe that whoever drinks the queen's last drop will not survive.
When was that determined? That the last
Yeah, why
drop
though?
of blood
I think they
killed-
just
Yeah, but why?
assumed that she's too much to handle. I don't
No,
know.
they set this up. This is the one thing they took from the first one, but misunderstood still, I think. But they had Marius say like, okay, you can't finish up this person because dead blood.
He wasn't dead.
Whatever.
Even it was like the
No.
last. It's just
No,
the
he
last
said
drop.
they set that up with
Yeah.
Marius explaining in that backstory that like you never fully suck a person dry because then they're dead and you've had dead blood.
I guess
Yeah,
we've
but those are mortals.
I guess we've never
Yeah,
encountered
exactly.
if you suck all the blood from another vampire. Do you? I guess the understanding in the books is that when you kill something, you take that death into you. So they're assuming since there's a connection, once the vampire is killed, you are also killed. So I don't know. That's the only thing I can guess, but it's still not clear. You never know, really.
Yeah.
It's a
So
It's a
backing up.
metaphor for cannibalism.
Yeah.
Backing up. What did y'all think of the Korn music video that sets up this whole Death Valley scene?
Wait. So I'm trying to figure out. Did we cover the Akasha? No, that's later. Sorry, I was getting mixed up in my
There you go.
timeline.
It's
here.
easy with this movie.
Yeah, I was mixed up.
The whole Death Valley scene where it opens with Disturbed, and then and then we see Lestat's band come up. It's full on just Jonathan Davis. That's when it's the most clear that the voices do not sync. Like it's
No.
like
Yeah, they don't.
It's weird because I don't blame Lestat for this, or what is his name, Townsend?
Stuart Townsend.
Yeah, I don't blame him because I think he did a decent job of trying, but they don't mix.
Yeah, the problem is he lip syncs perfectly well, but that is not that man's voice.
No.
It doesn't work, and I think maybe it's because we all know Korn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's not even that. It's Lestat would not have that voice.
I know.
It's just wrong.
I told David this several times, but I know Deftones is a song is thrown in here, Fly of all the songs, of course, because
House
that's
of
the most
Flies, yeah.
popular. But
Changing
I
the
honestly
House of Flies,
think
sorry. Yeah.
something that sounds more like Chino Marino's voice would be more appropriate for this style of character.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want Chino Marino's voice used
I agree.
in this way.
It's a win-lose scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a vampire, ironically, would have an angel-like voice.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Although they love metal or something.
Yeah, I guess.
Korn is not where you go.
No.
So this concert, though,
Or
in
Tom
general,
Morello.
Yeah.
Oh, Tom Morello. Gosh. So this concert in general, though, I actually like in a way. I think I was engaged in a campy sort of way at this point.
I love how when
Here's the pyrotechnics.
Yeah, the fire. It looks nice. But I love the scene where all these cloaked vampires just swoop in with their little daggers. I was like,
David just finds Jesse in the crowd of all instantly.
Hey.
Also, I love that they just have no idea about modern technology. So they're like, oh, dagger will do it.
Sure. It was no threat to him at all.
I just
forget
the
about
image.
guns.
The image was just hilarious, and I could not have imagined it looking cool back then either.
Yeah.
They're implementing that weird slow-mo, fast effect. And
that's what I imagine that slow-mo sounds like.
All of them are descending on Lestat at the same weird angle,
yes.
and they all have their daggers outstretched, and they just keep coming in. Like a couple of them get dispatched, and
it's
then
a video game.
And then
it is a video game mode where you're standing there. It's like they're just launching.
It sounds like one of those first iterations of a game for the VR, consoles.
Exactly
you're just having to
Lestat
impale flying
VR.
vampires.
All these flying vampires with daggers.
Stab them with your mic stand.
He does that.
He does.
Whatever you have on the stage, you can use it.
Man, I'd love to
Your
see
other
him
bandmates.
He plays his guitar and strums music.
Dude, this would actually be a really fun game.
Okay, that would be so cool though if he did use his guitar and he strummed and flames came out and he burned one.
He has his scream.
Okay, also clear this up for me. Isn't it implied in the beginning that he turned all those people into vampires that are in his band?
No, not at all.
That wasn't the case?
No.
No, they're just
I thought that
helping
too.
him.
Because I thought he was like, at the beginning of the movie, he's like, I'm not playing by the rules anymore. And I thought, he's going to turn all these people and it's going to be a vampire band.
By playing by the rules, he means I'm just going to tell people I'm a vampire.
Well, that's
Screw
why,
Vampire Society.
That's why he's separate
Rebel.
from them, because I think they can venture into daylight and promote the band, but he has to, stay in his one of 50 mansions.
Well, I think that something else we didn't touch on in this is that at the concert itself, there were so many people, and I was like, wow, this looks great. And so I was looking into it. They had 3,000 extras. I guess the director was like, just put out an ad in Melbourne. We need, because I can't remember the name, but it's close by there. And so they asked people in Melbourne, we need extras. Just sign up here, dress in goth, and we'll give you a free t-shirt and some hot dogs. And literally, the director shows up and he sees bus after bus and people just cascading out of these buses. And
Let's be real, I'd go.
Free t-shirt and hot dogs.
I was reading
And be in a movie.
So I thought it was funny because they started filming late at night because it's at night and it's cold in Australia versus Death Valley, and they were like, wear goth clothes, and they're all in
It's cold at Death Valley at night too. It's a desert.
Yeah.
Fine. Regardless, it was cold, and they filmed until 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And overnight, they had to listen to these takes 1,000 times, and they got used to chanting the music because the people trying to coordinate 3,000 extras were like, we need you to sing it. We don't have the lyrics for you to sing, but just keep listening and you'll get it.
Yep.
And they're freezing by the end of it. I found a writer who said he was there, and he's like, basically we're freezing. None of us wanted to be there anymore. There was all the hardcore goths were so done with this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought it was seriously one of those hilarious IMDb trivias that I read where this is word for word from IMDb. For the scenes of Lestat's concert in Death Valley, over 3,000 goths were recruited for the Melbourne nightclubs and on the internet, then driven on a fleet of buses to a quarry in Werribee to act as extras.
Werribee, that's where it was.
Yeah, but I just thought, just reading that, I was like, we need 3,000 goths.
I can't believe they got 3,000 goths in Werribee from Melbourne.
Hey, they didn't want to make a bunch of stuff.
What, you don't want those CGI renders like they would do in movies for armies where you have 5, but then they just clone them all?
Yeah.
No?
Anyway,
just want someone out there no, you're goth. No, you're too emo.
You're too emo.
No,
You're too emo.
Only goth.
No, they definitely kept in the too emo.
I'm sorry, are those baggy pants or tight pants? Tight pants to the back.
No.
Spiky
we
hair,
don't want to
all
see
right.
We only take parachute pants, lip rings, and skin-tight gloves.
And Jinko jeans.
Jinko jeans.
I was watching this movie. I was looking at a number of the hairstyles there. And not to be insulting, but I thought I was looking at the undead from World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
That is kind of their inspiration, I think.
Yeah,
especially the drummer for their band, Lestat's band, that bald guy who's shirtless always. He does kind of look like that.
Yeah, but it's just...
Okay, so Akasha whisks away Lestat to her new home. What do we think about this plot development here?
This is the good part.
Yeah, that's fine.
Of everything else is bad, but any time that it comes back to
Akasha.
Akasha, and I think that story was good. Like, I liked the way that if I can separate my mind from Lestat from the first one, and just think of this guy as like, all right, this is just some vampire.
Yeah, there's an opportunity
And
opening
it's
up.
okay.
There's an opportunity opening up here for the movie to start to, like a tragic love story, where it's going to end badly. It doesn't do
Like
it
Game of
successfully.
Thrones?
Yeah, but you could start to see like, oh, from the start, this isn't going to work. But you almost feel bad for Akasha, even though she is a genocidal maniac.
Yeah.
And that genocidal maniac, almost the whole, like, the notion of him being able to tolerate the sun now, like, it seems like it was teetering on the edge of just unleashing chaos, like, just a bloodbath from him and Akasha being unleashed.
Right.
But it was just more of Lestat being, submissive and all this stuff. So
He was into it, man.
Dude, they made Lestat too OP. He needs to be nerfed in the next movie.
All right, do we want to move on a little further?
Yeah. Empowered by Akasha's blood, Lestat and the Queen confront the ancient vampires. When they refuse to join her, Akasha then commands Lestat to kill Jesse, as the Queen sees her both as an enemy due to being Maharet's descendant and as food, with Akasha making an example out of her for those who dare disobey her command. Lestat ostensibly obeys, but after drinking Jesse's blood, comes to his senses and is released from Akasha's power. He angrily requests for his crown, and Akasha openly gives him her arm to feed on. Lestat then turns on her and begins to drain Akasha's blood. With the help of the ancients, Akasha's power diminishes. Maharet is the last to drink Akasha's blood, killing Akasha. Lestat goes to Jessie and, cradling her in his arms, gives her his blood as Maharet turns into a marble statue and sleeps, becoming the new Queen of the Damned. That wasn't apparent to me. I didn't know she was the new one.
I kind of got that.
She turned into that marble whatever.
Yeah.
It's very vague because I'm pretty sure they say that you're going to die if you have her last drop. And then
I think they weren't sure.
Well,
I think they weren't sure what was going to happen, but
I
assumed
don't
would
think
die.
they said it, but usually
I don't think the screenwriters were sure.
No, they weren't.
They like, some of them thought
leave it vague.
that you would.
You
Also,
thought.
have you noticed in this movie, vampires bite people like humans give handshakes? It's like,
yes, hello,
hey,
nice
how's
to
it
meet
going?
you.
Like,
Let
how
me
are you?
bite you in the neck.
And
Like, especially
it sounds like they're biting into an apple and sucking on it.
I feel like every other scene was someone biting another person. I was just like, okay, we get it.
Well, they also always do it so slowly, and I'm like, can we speed this up? Like, I don't just,
Okay.
I'm tired.
Just the choreography in general is just they put zero thought into those. Just fly at somebody and we'll add a weird trail to you, but don't try to make it coordinated at all. Just literally launch yourself.
Just
at them.
launch.
Gosh, I would have
yourself.
so much preferred just normal like wire effects, like just I don't know.
Yeah.
They did absolutely nothing in this. It was just like,
Yeah.
phew.
So also another dumb moment with this mortal. Apparently, Maharet cares very much about the descendants, but for some reason they decided it was fine. She would be a part of this council. Why is she here? Like, I would have locked her up in another room somewhere.
This
like,
council in general was so underbaked because
Yeah.
like once they're all there, like I recognized one of them.
Yeah.
But I was like, who are all these people?
Yeah, I know.
I heard that there was
Just grab someone from every culture.
I heard there was a scene that wasn't released in this where they showed each of them being woken up by his music or something.
Gosh.
And they took it out.
Dude,
and like,
it is-
thanks for taking that out
It
and
is
showing
not
us what they
apparent
are.
at all. I thought they were just, for some reason, some secret club of vampires that all kind of just hang out in California, I guess, because that's where her house is. So,
Sure.
and when Jessie wakes up, I'm so confused. I'm like, I guess someone took her from
How
the
did she
concert?
get there?
Like, I don't know.
Oh, I guess
it's
Maharet
that
took
one.
her.
No, it was the guy like
David?
working for Maharet. I
There's
guess
the guy
part
that
of the
appeared
council.
next to her, I
Yeah,
think.
remember the guy she
Yeah,
locks
the
eyes
guy
with
that they didn't
in the
talk about
concert?
at all.
Yeah, and he just looks at her. Yeah, so I'm assuming he carried her back.
He was with Maharet at the concert, so I assumed like as a group they took her.
Yeah.
Also, have you noticed that why do these vampires turn into like burnt pork rinds when Akasha burns them?
Because Akasha
She has
decided.
the power of the sun.
Yeah, she has fire
Actually,
powers. She has
yeah.
fire manipulation.
There's literally no scene where she bites anyone on the neck.
Can I also point out though, Lestat, another problem with his continuity.
Surprising.
He's like a puppet.
Well, not that. Well, yeah, that's a problem, but also with him and his willingness to bite people.
Yeah.
Dude, he has no problem turning a person into a vampire if they want it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have had any issues with turning her into a vampire the first time.
He cares about her.
She's just so into it.
Yeah, David brought that up earlier, and then I raise you, Louis.
Yeah.
Well, the difference between this Lestat and the one from Interview with a Vampire is this Lestat kind of like values human life and envies it, whereas the Lestat in Interview with a Vampire was just living life. Like if I'm gonna be a vampire, I'm gonna live it to the fullest.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is a reboot. It's a different Lestat.
Yeah.
It's just like, so wrong.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I do think, though, that the character, he is written as one that does have some kind of lingering value for life. And I think Louis sort of inspired him in that direction a little bit. But it doesn't come across in this. It's like he's not connected at all.
Yeah, because forget Louis, he does not exist.
Yeah. So what do we think about this final confrontation overall between Akasha and the rest of this council or whatever, and Lestat's, I guess, betrayal of Akasha?
Yeah, very underwhelming.
I'm very confused.
Yeah. I thought
that
this
was my takeaway.
Yeah, this was their opportunity to, go for the heart a little bit and, capitalize on that betrayal and really show her, have some, real emotion over him, stabbing her in the back, basically. But they don't really go for that at all.
I'm also confused.
Especially the amount of viscera that the first movie had.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't afraid of gore and being,
right.
brutal. Like, this movie really shied away from that.
Yeah, it's very
like
toothless.
I said, like, this was the time for them to be open up and just unleash chaos, and that didn't happen.
I'm also confused because apparently she can, turn people into ash. Like, they catch on fire and turn to
burnt
ash.
pork rinds.
Yeah.
Yeah, they turn into pork rinds. She could do it to multiple. They've shown scenes where 3 at once she can do that too. And she's attacked by like 3 people, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm being overpowered." I'm like, "What?"
They basically
just turn them into pork rinds.
I'm super confused because they basically had no other plan than someone needs to feed on her until, they reach the last drop. And they're like, this is the most powerful vampire you've ever encountered, and that's your plan? Like, how is she going to let you do that?
Yeah, like Van Helsing did this better. It had this knockdown, drag-out fight.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I wanted something like that for this.
And you don't get it.
No.
Yeah.
I will say, I understand how it went down.
Yeah.
Because Lestat, after having killed the girl who he didn't want to kill, has to find a way to get them out of this situation because he doesn't want to be her dog, pretty much.
Yeah.
So he starts by betraying her and sucking her blood to the point that I imagine she's a little bit weakened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, the other ones were like, I get it.
Yeah.
And they all rush.
This movie completely abandons the telepathy angle, I guess, because if Akasha is the most powerful and the first vampire, wouldn't she be able to tell what Lestat is thinking and all of them are thinking? So why...
No, she's overpowered, and they kind of have to ignore that just to make it work.
Yeah. I wanted to see a scene, like, if this movie's gonna go full on ridiculous, I wanted to see a scene where she's like trying to do battle with all these vampires, swinging around, and like there's a couple vampires like holding on by their teeth to her as she swings around, like trying to suck out every last drop. But
if anyone wants to know where this is actually happening, no one knows.
Yeah.
This is literally at some weird palace in the middle of nowhere. No one knows.
They said California. I think
it's in California
it was some
somewhere.
Kind of California location, but where
it's
apparently
the ancient
Maharet
palace in California.
Yeah,
Sure.
Maharet has been here forever for some reason.
Real quick, I will say one positive. They did better than they did in the first one. It's the teeth.
Yeah, I will say the teeth
The
do look
fangs
better.
in
You're right.
particular.
Yeah.
I actually liked the teeth in the first one.
I like them too, but
I didn't think they were bad in the first.
They're a little large.
I think
they're not bad in the first one, but you can tell that it's like a
more
never-ending story where they put in the whole like dentures or
you
whatever.
can see it protruding from their
Yeah.
lips a little bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could tell that the actors were definitely, trying to
talk
make
through
a
them.
concerted effort to keep their mouth closed all the way. And
Yeah.
That said, that wasn't a problem enough in the first one for me to dislike it. But I just wanted to point out in this one, it's like, hey,
going with
that
aesthetic, I think they made a good choice in this to kind of ditch the contacts for most of the vampires,
except Aaliyah.
Yeah, Aaliyah was different, but at least
hers
wasn't super noticeable, except in the close-up opening eyes scene. But other than that, I think that was a good choice to just let them have kind of their natural eye color, and then maybe add some cat reflective glare aspect to it.
Ooh, one cool scene. Lestat.
They're androids.
Yeah.
Lestat, when he's in that bar and he leans forward when the girl mentions Marius's name.
I noticed the same thing.
I was like, okay,
yeah,
that looked
it's
kinda,
like that was kind of cool
interesting.
and creepy, and I wish they had more of that, but they don't.
Let's wrap up the story though.
Okay. Lestat and Jesse, who is now a vampire, visit David and return Lestat's journal. When asked by David what it is like, Jesse jokingly offers to turn him into a vampire, to which he replies he's too old for immortality. Jesse then bids David goodbye and leaves with Lestat. A few moments later, David is greeted by Marius. The film closes with Lestat and Jesse walking hand in hand among mortals into the night.
Let's not dwell on this too long, but what did y'all think about the closing moments of this movie?
I think the ending's
Thank
fine.
goodness it's over.
Yeah, that is my sentiment.
They're like, I can't believe it. Credits.
Yay, Jesse's a vampire. And I like how they confront David, and he's like, so how is it? She's like, do you want to see what it's like to be a vampire? I'll turn you into a vampire, like, no problem. And he's
I'm
like,
too old.
No, I'm too old. I can't be a vampire. She's like, all right, let me know later if you change your mind. And he's like,
call me.
Dude.
Okay.
Like, changing people into vampires willy-nilly, that's so reckless.
All right, so, and then Marius appears at the ending.
Up.
I don't really know what their intent was with that.
They know each other.
Is he making him a companion? Is he coming there to visit? Is he killing them?
I kind of hope Marius is actually there to, like, befriend him in some way or turn him into a vampire.
I kind of got that impression.
Yeah.
Because Marius is like, oh, hello, David.
Yeah.
Me too, but why?
Again, just because we don't know what the point of the Talamaskas are.
Yeah,
like,
we don't.
Secret society.
They never explain it.
I think they're just there to maintain balance, and they do make some reference as to, we figured out a way to coexist with humans, and Akasha's whole thing was like, yeah, we live in the shadows and we're never able to come out. Humans are savages. But it just sounds like this group is basically just trying to instill balance.
It's a new Scientology group.
To me, it just came across as vampire groupies, where they just wanted to know where they are, but not actually do anything about it. That's what I thought.
Yeah, there are a lot.
Librarians.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things in this that I honestly think a lot of the superficial is the issue with this, and if you kind of reskin it a little bit, it could be a good movie.
Yeah.
And just
save it for your review.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say, like, it just they dropped the ball so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. There's a lot of potential there that's not realized. So let's close out the story here, and we'll talk a little bit more on it on the other side. Let's take a quick break. Welcome back. We're here to review and talk about Queen of the Damned.
Queen of the Damned.
Queen of the Damned.
The Damned.
Queen of the Damned.
And my hairy nipples.
Queen of the Darned, guys. Cursing.
Did you notice that, by the way?
Yeah,
how many times they zoomed in on his nipples
in this?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a nipple fetish going on in this movie.
And here's the thing: if you're zooming in on something, normally you want it to be nice looking, but there's like little tufts of hair. Not that I have a problem with hairy nipples, but like
Noah,
I don't want to see that.
If you're gonna show
Please
him
go into more
pictures of
detail.
nipples, make them nice.
Yeah, not enough.
Shave
AJ
them.
says not enough information. Please more.
Sorry for devolving.
All right, David, You want to pull our scores at
got
random
some
from your
scores.
text message device?
Yeah, in random.
I called a phone a text message device, by the way.
I got your text.
Well, I mean, with how many
messages
times
in
you
this
break
text
them,
message
I think
device.
there
Alright.
is some sort of misunderstanding.
All right, starting off randomly, we have Irina with a 3.
Yeah,
Ooh.
to make more vampire jokes, I found this very sucky.
Okay, Irina. Oh my gosh. Irina,
What?
I'm proud of you.
Why are you proud of me?
We were expecting the
Higher?
the 7.
Six.
Or
I actually enjoyed
Gag
this.
me.
they
I
tried.
won't,
There was
I
an
won't
effort.
blame you for giving it something lower, but I'm going to give it a 7. Yeah. No, I can't get around it because I think the only reason it is not a 1 is because I like the effort in the set design and the at least Akasha's design and her outfits. A lot of the costuming is a little questionable, but hers was always really cool to me. The story is very convoluted. There are people that are introduced to this film that you don't understand why they're here, what their motive is, and they never make an effort to really show you what that motive is. So you're just kind of left with this big new metal music video, which
Pretty much.
ages really terribly.
Starring the Creed lead singer.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Vampire Chad Kroger.
Yes.
yeah. So
Whoa, his name actually is Chad.
Yes.
That's Nickelback.
Sorry, I didn't even mean to make that joke. I'm sorry.
Scott Stapp for Creed.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Nickelback is what I meant.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
That's
Sorry.
what that is.
Don't ask me
Dang
why I
it.
know that.
It's okay. I knew it too.
You just know things. Yeah, so it was very poorly put together, and the scenes that were supposed to be effective, that you knew they put in there because they thought it was cool, just do not strike you. A lot of it is forgettable, and most of the time while I was watching it, I was really not enjoying my time. So with movies that I know are terrible, most of the time I at least enjoy it in some way. But this one, I was just kind of waiting for it to be over. And even though it is a short movie, it felt like it was taking hours. So that's my 3.
All right, next up is Noah with a 3.5.
Yeah,
right.
Irina surpassed me.
Or
That's a first.
Yeah.
Noah,
I know.
you
Noah's
surpassed
higher.
me.
That's
She
true.
undercut you. I
You
guess.
undercut. No, you surpassed me in your hate.
Oh.
Is what it was.
That's what he meant.
Yeah. No, this movie gets me mad. Yeah, I was able to separate it enough from the first one though to not give it a 0. But yeah, watching this movie, I felt like a vampire in sunlight.
Wait, after you drink Akasha's blood, right?
Sparkly.
Yeah, exactly. I was sparkling.
Bella, do you want this? Do you want to look like diamonds forever?
By the way, my name's Chad.
Diamonds are forever.
Gosh. But yeah, this is a terrible movie. I'm sticking with my 3.5 because I think it's bad, but there are some interesting takes that there's like a good little nugget of something in there that is
Definitely better
that
than
is
Pirates 3.
Good. I'm not saying. Actually, I think they're about. Well,
I digress. Let's not go back to pirates.
let's go away from there. But yeah, all the new metal, all the edgy stuff is just terrible. And if it didn't have that, which is most of this movie, by the way, it has what could be a decent storyline. Mm-hmm. So that's why it gets the 3.5 plus Akasha's design, as Irina stated earlier. I think it had some okay stuff amongst all the atrocities.
Yeah.
So,
Fair
yeah.
enough.
All right.
There you go.
All right, and next up is David. And I'm going to throw in something here to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to give it a 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wait.
Are you sure you're not giving it a 7?
No, I'm giving
Yeah,
it a 5.
yeah.
It's I
Wait.
mean, 5 is already high enough. I think
Does
we
it
can all agree
have
on
something
that.
to do with the rewatchability?
7.
A little
But
bit.
David, this didn't have a football scene.
No Yetis.
Nor
No,
Yetis.
yeah, he's playing
Yeah,
football. What are you talking about?
Wait,
don't know.
guys.
Jet Li. Jet Li.
Where is this all coming from?
This has vampires, not mummies.
Okay.
That's true. It doesn't
easy
get the
mistake.
It doesn't get the 2-point bump for mummies.
Yeah. I prefer mummies over vampires.
Continue your review.
For people not in on the joke, David did in fact score The Mummy: Tomb of the Dragon Emperor a 7 on one of our oldest episodes. And he regrets it ever since.
And with that information, continue, David.
Yeah.
I just like how we've talked about how we're not going to incorporate that on every episode, but I feel like recently we've been
No, you
incorporating
talked about never incorporating that.
Guys, stop doing it. No. Anyway, I give it a 5. I think that I had more fun with this movie than probably everyone else here. I watched this with my friends. It was actually an enjoyable time. We had all of us had a good time watching this. It was fun to kind of alcohol. We were all drinking. We're having fun talking about the music. The actors that's in the movie weren't bad in some of the occasions. I think Aaliyah, especially the guy who played Marius. There are some redeemable qualities that are not heavily redeemable, but they're there. I enjoy some of the new metal. I'm sorry, I did grow up with some of this, and it does leave there's a place in my heart for it.
There's not a problem with the music; it's the association.
Oh, yeah, so some of this is just bad. Some of it's okay. I just for some reason it leaves us. There's a special place in my heart where I'm a little nostalgic for it, and so I think I was just happy to hear it again. I don't know. Like watching this, I was like, oh yeah, this brings me back.
Yeah.
So there is something about that, and I don't know. If I was at a Halloween party, I would put this on. I feel like this is just a fun...
Just like Reese did.
Yeah, except for I would probably watch it. I think this is just a fun movie to put on if you're trying to entertain people and not focus on a super intense movie. Like it's no Lost Boys, I guess, but it's fun. I don't know. I had fun, and I watched it 2.5 times. And I could watch it again. Like I think there is a rewatchability factor for me, and I understand that it's not for everybody.
Wait. Okay, you said it's rewatchable. Why don't you just bump it up 2 more points?
What was that, AJ?
No mummies.
No, hang on. I'm looking up Stockholm Syndrome symptoms.
I'm not living with some guy that wait.
Is this your island, or what's the term, like
your island movie or
guilty pleasure?
The movie you take to the
guilty pleasure. It is a slight guilty pleasure.
Okay, I actually will kind of agree with you that this movie is so bad that you can laugh at it,
and it's stupid. It's stupid,
and there is something to be said about the setting in which you watch a movie. It's just like the car listen for music. You know? Like
you have the right atmosphere.
You can't. Yeah, exactly. You got to have that.
I had a good atmosphere. I think that's what it was. I mean, I was watching this with all my roommates. We were all having a good time. People were talking about crushed velvet being gag worthy. I mean, it was. I don't know. It was just a fun time, and it made me want to rewatch it. And so, in the end, this is a failure of a movie that I will put on for a mood. That's all I can say. And that's enough for a 5 for me.
I will agree that it is a good Halloween party movie because you want to put something on people aren't going to be too distracted by, but also it has to fit the mood. So I'll agree with that.
And in the end, this isn't, I think, as dramatic as your 7 or 7.5 that you gave Soldier. You know, I think it's the same ballpark. I think those are similar
He's trying
things.
to turn this thing around.
No, I think each one of us has a guilty pleasure movie.
You're actually totally right.
And that's similar.
Yeah.
Like, that came out of left field from Arena.
Sorry, she was like, what? Excuse me?
Excuse me.
All right, sorry. So, in the end, 5. I'm sticking with that one. So, let's move on to the next score with his AJ. With the 2.
With the 2?
Woo! Yeah, so I'll again say that, you know, I kind of struggled to stay awake for this movie. I feel like, you know, I got 90% of it at least. So, I feel like it's fair to at least criticize it. Because I didn't just fall asleep for the whole thing.
Right.
But, you know, I also fell asleep during this movie, and that's not kind of a common thing for me. Usually I can at least have some wherewithal to stick through things, and this movie really dragged. It was abysmal, in my opinion.
That's coming a lot from a guy who can watch a movie based off a user manual for installing nuts and bolts into a piano.
What?
Where did you pull that from?
That is the weirdest
I had an idea in my head, guys. I had an idea.
You're making me think you
must have disappeared halfway through.
A conversation with AJ at some point about something really
that was a private conversation.
That's the last
He
time
did not say you could share that with
That's
everyone.
the last time I incorporate you in my user manual videos.
Anyway,
Sorry, AJ.
so I guess I'll try to find some positives here, and I'll just reiterate: they stuck with an aesthetic motif consistently.
What was that?
Well, the new metal and the glam rock post whatever hair.
You're right.
Post
It
whatever.
was
Anyway.
consistent.
Whatever it was.
And the acting was fine. I think it was probably a direction issue, writing issue. Story did not make sense whatsoever. If there was any semblance of a story, it was probably the high points of that story that were the most intriguing were probably from the original book, and then they just gutted the rest of it. So that's the positive. And this movie, I critiqued Soldier, I critiqued Neverending Story 2, and this movie does something that even those movies have positive for them. Where here, I literally I cannot figure out why this movie was made, other than making money, obviously.
Wait, Neverending Story 2?
Yes, I can at least see where they were coming from, trying to tell some story or put something on the screen. And this, I literally cannot figure out what they were trying to do here. I don't know why this movie exists.
Movie based off book.
Dude, that was me with
Beyond that.
Neverending Story 2.
Yeah, there's no message at all. Like it's just like
there's no point to this movie being and for me, like, it's not even so bad it's a good thing. Like there are other movies that I would gladly put on. They're terrible movies that are at least entertaining. I guess, again, like Noah said, it's the company that you're in and the context that you're watching the movie that does make a difference. But I could definitely do without this movie.
Yeah. AJ, I could give you a fun time with this movie. All
That
right, I regret saying that
David.
entirely. I regret that entirely.
I could give you
gonna
a
comment
fun time
on his
with
nuts and bolts again?
You're just reinforcing the thought in my mind that you are Tobias Funke from Arrested Development. He is.
And Townsend, and interestingly enough, I found a little bit of, similarity, but as far as a critical approach to this movie, we talked about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and Townsend was in that as well.
Right.
That movie obviously had flaws, but I would much rather watch that movie over this movie.
Oh gosh!
Actually, I would too.
He was the guy in the painting.
He was Dorian Gray.
Yeah. Dang.
Remember, actually, when we went over that episode, I said, that's the guy from Queen of the Damned, and everyone's like, what? Because they hadn't seen it. And I was like,
I just didn't remember.
Right.
All right, last one.
Oh yeah, last up, Reese with a 3.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, so
how am I more positive than both Irina and Reese?
It's only by half
and
a
if it wasn't
point,
for
don't
me,
worry.
you would be the highest.
I want to echo everything AJ's been saying. Only I would say I enjoyed this slightly more than him.
That's because you like new metal slightly more than
And you
him.
stayed awake for the whole thing.
Yeah, there's no place for this movie. Like, it's not so bad it's good. If you want that, watch Catwoman. But if you want the better version of this movie that you can still have a fun time with, you watch Underworld. Like, it's like, why watch this?
Yeah.
There's decent moments. It's nice to see Alea. I think she has a nice on-screen presence, but again, she's in under 30 minutes of this movie.
I know.
And she's underserved. Her backstory would have been so much more interesting to see play out in this movie. I think Jessie is a completely meaningless, pointless character. I think you could cut her completely out, have this be about Lestat and Akasha, and just, that's all you need. And Maurice, whatever the...
Marius.
Maurice. Yeah, some old vampire
That
name.
shows you how closely I was paying attention to the
One day we're going to have a clip of all the names you've butchered.
I know. But the most interesting scenes in these movies are when they leave the city and they go to a more ancient setting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And those are very few and far between, but they do happen, and that elevates the movie ever so slightly.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole aesthetic of this movie is dated so poorly. If it had gone full bore into just being aggressively terrible, I might have flipped on the other side and been like, yeah, this is like a riotous good time. I recommend everyone watch it because it's something to behold.
It's not enough to make our bad movie list?
No, it's not so bad it's good. It's just bad.
Yeah.
Like you can watch it. It is the definition of a background movie that you kind of walk past as you're on your fifth beer and you kind of chuckle and then you walk on.
If you're in your 30s, you like Five Finger Death Punch and Papa Roach, this might be your movie.
Yeah.
Those are
I mean, I'm not a stranger to that genre of music, and I grew up with
Yeah.
that as well, and it's just like, it doesn't appeal to me. I get
Yeah, you're not in your 30s yet.
Yeah. But also, I just think it's insulting that this is a sequel, technically a sequel / reboot to Interview with the Vampire. It is so much lower than that movie. A movie that I thought I wasn't going to like, but ended up
Really
loving.
Yeah.
It just really disgraces it in every way. And I know it's just different enough to, you can kind of separate it in your mind.
Yeah.
But they left so much on the table to be a good movie. It's going to be a while before you get another shot at this, and they blew their shot.
It's actually insulting to the original.
Yeah. I think part of the reason it's so confusing is because they tried to mash together two books in the same thing. So you're getting that confusing back and forth between Jesse and Lestat, and then, the whole Akasha thing and whatever's going on with the Talamaska. So you're like, I don't know how these all connect, but for some reason I'm getting half answers for everything.
I feel like they also tried to steal the tone of maybe the success of Blade, where Blade definitely has that aesthetic, the music, the costumes, everything. I feel like they're like, oh, well, yeah, we can do that. And then, same thing with similar to Guardians of the Galaxy, pulled that off, and then Suicide Squad tried to capture that kind of little niche approach to it. And I feel like we have a similar situation here. It's like, did not pan out.
Yep. Yeah.
I totally agree. And so basically, I stand by my those 3 points go to Alea alone. And nobody else. There's a couple of interesting plot developments. It goes nowhere with.
Marius.
Okay, if you recall, I wasn't as fond of Marius. I thought he was fine, but
You mean Maurice?
Yeah, Maurice. Sorry, I wasn't as
Morpheus.
Might as well be. I mean,
Mobius
some of
was
this
a
felt
vampire,
little
wasn't he?
Matrix.
Morbius. Yeah,
Morbius. Oh, that fits.
Morbius.
That was Mobius, the video game that. No?
Morbius is literally a comic book character that's a vampire.
No, I said Mobius, which was a video game, arcade game that was apparently supposed to brainwash people.
Yeah, that's a fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact.
So you talked about your
So you played that enough to rate this a 5, you mean?
I hate all of you.
So, AJ, do you want to crunch those numbers?
Okay. So for this specific title, we have an average for the group of 3.3, which is below Girl in the Spider's Web and above Neverending Story 2, the next chapter.
That is exactly where it belongs.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree
but
with
it
that,
does
actually.
make me feel more positively about Spider's Web.
I would say that I would
agree.
prefer this over Spider's Web personally, but I can see that movie was trash.
No, it was better than this.
I agree that movie was
care
trash, and I had a very strong response to that movie, but I can recognize that it was a better movie than this.
Yeah.
All right, so, okay, in a weird way, I agree with David, but not probably for the same reasons.
Both of them are poor sequels that really kind of disrespected their original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least Spider's Web was a competently made action movie.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Spider's Web was a competently made, well, I don't know how competent you'd say that was.
I know.
Anyway,
but
it was
more competent than this, but I'm thinking of
Nipples.
this movie. Like, I imagine the situation in which I'd watch this movie.
I know, that's
is more
exactly what I
fun
was thinking.
than the situation in which I'd watch.
You can find
the
a
other
place
one.
to put this one on. There's no place to put on Girl with the Spider's
Girl
Web.
with the
There's
Spider's
no reason
Web,
to put that
to
one
me,
on.
that sounds like a drag, but for Queen of the Damned, I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna get drunk.
Yep.
No, you make up a good point, but I still think if we're judging these from a critical standpoint,
Yeah.
Spider's Web is better.
I think we're dwelling on it too much because they're close enough where it doesn't actually matter, even for me.
It is. I'm talking about my personal enjoyment of life over the fact that this movie is an atrocity in comparison.
No, that's true.
I get it.
If we talk about a franchise as a whole, these two movies averaged together, we have a 5.8 rating
Man,
for
so
the
disappointing.
franchise.
Wow, this one really dragged it down, huh?
It did.
Weird. Where's the sequel?
I wonder.
And
It deserves so much more.
since we talked about Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Girl in the Spider's Web, that had a franchise average of 6.3, with the first movie being an 8.8 and the second a 3.8. So kind of a similar situation.
Yeah.
It's weird that we can draw parallels between those two. I didn't think that would come
Both
up.
with really strong first movies and really poor second movies.
Yeah.
Why is this movie so bad?
All right, so let's talk about critics. There's a couple surprises here, guys. Not from the critics, but from the audiences.
Oh. Cult following.
Yep. Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has a 17% with an audience score that is fresh of 66%.
Yeah, because they were all super into new metal at the time.
That surprises even me.
That's a cumulative score. You can
It's
score
the
this
cult
movie right now.
following. There's hands down a big group of people probably, well, not like huge, but
enough to give it that large of a score.
probably watched it in the same setting as you, David, where they probably were a little bit drunk and they're like, yeah, this movie's terrible. I love it.
Yeah, I cannot be forsaken,
and
bro.
decided, all right.
I honestly think it could have something to do with Alea. It being
Yeah,
her last movie and
I could see
people,
that
you know,
too.
giving it some reverence for, you know, this being kind of her swan song.
And she did a great job, especially for her last movie on this. There's a lot of positive.
So Metacritic, a 30 out of 100 from critics, and an audience score of 7.8 out of 10.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
And on IMDb, this movie comes back down into, you know, the atmosphere, under the atmosphere, with 5.3.
This is covering the bases. This is
Yeah.
all over the place.
So audiences, I would say, are mixed to positive, whereas critics are definitively negative.
In the trash.
This is a time in which I agree with them.
Yeah.
I feel okay with being in the middle.
I kind of expected the audience score to be higher, like in the 50s range, but not like all the way
Yeah.
up to
60s
Yeah.
to 70s.
Yeah.
You almost had an
That's-
80 in
that's-
there.
That
Pretty
was
high.
pretty surprising to me. I didn't know this movie had that kind of following. I knew that it was like, oh yeah, this is like a bargain bin hit that a lot of people watch and have seen, but Box office. This movie released on February 22nd, 2002, and it
a February release.
it opened against that Kevin Costner movie Dragonfly.
Whatever that is.
And against the second week of John Q. It's a Denzel Washington
What is
movie.
that?
You haven't heard of John Q. or Dragonfly?
I've not.
Why do you release a vampire movie in February?
So January, specifically January, but also February to a certain degree.
January too.
No, they're dumping grounds for movies that studios are just kind of trying to get
I guess
rid
what
of.
Noah was saying was
I think
like
March
October
also is
perfect.
too. A
Yeah,
little bit.
October would have been, even
They
from
could
a
have made at
studio
least some money from it.
standpoint, that would have been much better.
I don't know. I feel like they could smell this one. It probably wasn't testing well with audiences, and they were like, "All right, let's."
Although based
Put
on
it
the
in
audience reviews,
February.
it should have tested well.
I think those audience reviews have been bolstered over time.
It might have
I don't
been.
think it was
It might
immediate.
have
Like,
Could be.
so yeah, the budget was $35 million, which for the record is $25 million less than Interview with a Vampire. Let's do our prediction game, guys.
That's cheap.
Yeah,
actually.
Noah, it's been a while since I asked you first, so why don't you guess first?
Sure thing. I will go with a nifty.
And this is
75
worldwide.
million.
This is worldwide, by the way.
Oh, worldwide.
Yeah.
Wait, first weekend, whole.
I didn't mean to throw you
whole-
off. You should probably still go with
No,
this.
I
This is
think,
like a
I think
whole-
you had
Always
it
worldwide,
normal. It's always worldwide.
episode.
Yeah, it's all.
We've
It's
done this
all.
for
It's
a
always
year,
worldwide.
guys.
But like, just to clarify, like this is overall how much they
Noah,
made by the end
This
of their
is the
life.
same as it's been every weekend for the past
Yeah,
year.
I know. I'm just,
It's worldwide for its theatrical release, and that's
Yeah.
for our audience. Our
I'm just
listeners.
trying to wrap my head around this stupid movie and how it could make money.
Give me a number. Just give me your.
I'll
your
give
knee-jerk-
you. I'll give you my same numbers. 75 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Irina.
65.
All right. AJ.
I'll say it was a wash. So let's say 40.
Okay.
Damn
David.
you. That was the number I was going to throw out. All right, you know what? 35 then. It literally washed. Exactly.
All right. AJ with the win.
Dang it.
Yep. The movie made 45 million worldwide.
Hey, look at
I should have went up. I was going to go with
Hey,
40.
I will say you all were all in the ballpark. Y'all are getting pretty
Yeah.
good at this.
Hey,
you
we're
can-
learning.
look at that.
We're learning from you.
Yeah, you can kind of anticipate where a movie's going to go based off its
Well,
budget.
Here's what I was thinking. 75 million is still a wash. Like, I mean, it's more than the budget. It's triple the budget, but that budget is really low.
That in the time that this movie released, which was 2002, it is not a wash necessarily because a movie's success was actually, it also factored in how much it would sell DVD sales if it could get a sequel. Like if it doubled its budget and then sold a ton of DVDs, then
that's true.
Yeah, we're going to make a sequel. That's
Don't
not
forget
true
those
today.
licensed Lestat plushies.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's all because of streaming services when you think about it.
Yeah, now today it's much more like digital kind of, you know.
No one really, or people do, but not many people buy movies.
Not unless you're Reese.
Yeah, so there's no sequel to this movie, but that's not for lack of trying. I don't think, no one tried to make a direct sequel to this Queen of the Damned movie.
Thank God.
It was unsuccessful at the box office, got bad reviews from critics. Even though it does have a cult following, I really don't think there was any desire to make a sequel to this film. But in the past years, there have been attempts to, make another movie in this franchise. First, in February of 2012, they were going to try to adapt The Tale of the Body Thief, which is the fourth film. I think Brian Grazer and Ron Howard were, their production company was going to try and work on that, but it fell through. And then again in August of 2014, Alex Kurtzman's company acquired The Vampire Chronicles, and they were going to make a TV show off of it.
That could have worked. That could have worked.
Which is actually what Anne Rice wanted from the start, because there's just so much content there, and a TV show is ideal. She actually rebuked the Queen of the Damned because it covered too much. It covered 2 books and just didn't flesh either of them out. And from the start, she was like,
That's a bad idea. You shouldn't do that.
Well, I heard too that she literally went to the director of this movie and was like, "Please do not combine these 2 stories, please." And he's like, "No." And I think their director even said like, "Yeah, she was working with us in the beginning, and we kind of just stopped talking. I wonder why."
Because of the heaping garbage that you were stuffing into this.
Yeah, she definitely does not like this movie.
And most recently, in 2016, Josh Boone, the guy who directed The New Mutants, I think wrote a script for a new movie with Jared Leto in mind to play Lestat. That, I feel like, has also fallen through. So
I will say real quick, I definitely think Jared Leto could make a good vampire.
Yeah, but not Lestat.
He is playing Morbius.
He is a vampire.
Right.
Yeah,
he makes Morbius is good.
Vampire.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with Jared Leto. I only have a problem with Jared Leto Joker.
So let's have some fun here. There's nothing in the cards for this series. I think it's still an interesting property that, no one's really grabbing yet, but I don't think it's the end of whatever this franchise is. We're not going to see a sequel to Interview with the Vampire or Queen of the Damned, but I think a reboot of some sort could be in the cards in 10 years or so.
I was going to say 10 years and the next vampire craze that comes by.
It's going to pop up.
So let's do a quick, let's cast this.
Okay.
Who do you think would be a good Lestat?
Tom Cruise.
Okay, yes. I would still watch that, even though he has aged not much, but he's aged a little bit. But what new kind of, or what actor today do you think could do a good Lestat?
That's tricky.
And Louise, Lestat and Louise, who we got?
Louis?
Yeah, Louis. I mess up all names, so that's just how it is.
Louise and Maurice.
So this sounds weird, but I think it would be the ultimate redemption role for Robert Pattinson to play a Lestat.
Dude, that would be cool.
I want to see.
But he doesn't act the part usually. I would see him more as a Louis than
he's had such a career resurgence.
Well, I'm really optimistic about the Batman, so I want to see how he does in that, which I think he will do well.
I like Robert Pattinson as an actor, and I like some of his movies, and I really want him to make a comeback.
Speaking of Robert Pattinson, I just love his absolute hatred for the Twilight series that he actually was a part of.
Every time he's asked about it in an interview, you see his eyes go dead.
Yeah, he's like, no, not that part of my life.
I think he's an excellent actor.
So
he really redeemed himself.
Even with interviews during the time that the movie was popular, like just after Twilight came out, there was an interview I specifically remember in my mind where the woman asked him, like, so explain about, like, the movie and what happens. And he's like, well, Edward saves Bella with his vampire powers.
He's so done with it.
You did not read the book.
I feel like he's just one of those guys that signed the contract. All right, this is gonna be okay. Then kind of read the source material,
He's
like
like, oh,
okay.
no.
Well, it was more to get himself
and
out
then
there.
started filming the movie. It's like, oh no.
And then realized I have 4 more of these.
Oh,
Look, guys,
no.
what we really need is the Twilight House. Okay, we need to combine Twilight in the Lighthouse.
No,
I'd watch it out of sheer curiosity.
It has him with the mermaid statue, and he's alone. And then Bella walks in. What are you doing?
Before we end this, any other personal choices for a casting of Lestat?
I was going to say Ryan Gosling as Louis.
Yeah,
He's a little older.
It's really
As Louis.
I would disagree.
Sorry, what were you
Go
saying,
ahead.
AJ?
He's a little older, but maybe Jason Isaacs as Lestat.
Who's that?
He played
was
Lucius
in
Malfoy.
Harry Potter.
Yeah,
The Patriot.
I could actually. I could see that actually.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as well. He is
That's
older, but
interesting.
yeah, an older, more mature Lestat. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
Pretty.
who could do a Louis?
Yeah.
Army Hammer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Could you see that? Maybe.
I could see that a little bit.
Okay. No, I don't. Believe it.
I'd have to watch him again because I don't really know him well enough.
Lone Ranger, buddy.
Yeah, I saw that one time a couple of years ago.
The Social
Donald
Network.
Gleason.
Yes, actually, Donald Gleason would be a good choice. Yeah. So that concludes our episode.
Yeah, baby.
But Irina, what movie are we covering next week?
And next we are going to start the Blade series.
Yeah. Metal.
Classic.
I'm ready. That is a good transition.
Yes.
By the way,
A vampire movie trend, and we're going into Wesley Snipes killing vampires.
Well,
Yep.
Crystal Method.
All right. Until then, you'll have a good one.
all right.
I'm
AJ
very
David's offended.
ticklish.